Hi, Tea Society. Welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet. Today we are checking out ATEEZ San HALA HALA Fancam, and I'm going into this with mixed feelings because on the one hand, this song, this choreo, this performance, and we're dealing with a Demon Line member, keeping that in mind. But on the other hand, he's still a pretty baby at this point, and I feel like the cute aggression is going to take over while he's trying to be all like brooding and intense and stuff with this performance. And I'm just going to be sitting here being like, you're such a cutie pie. That's going to be how my brain is functioning in this. So I'm sorry if I kill his vibe while he's trying to perform this, but that's just where my heart is. Also, I love this hair with the like red, like the dark and then the red. My brain's just, yes, the aesthetic. Okay, let's see what he's got for me. That feels so real for that. Oof. You hit that move really hard. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. I'm gonna be so honest. He was just standing there to give myself a break, but you can't put Mingi and Yosung on either side of him and expect me to like fully pay attention. I'm sorry. But he hits these stops like really hard. Ooh. Like the hand detail. Sorry, I just tried to play a song again. Whoa, okay, I got distracted by a song. I'm like, because what am I supposed to be looking at? And just, I had a proud parent moment. Super huge burst of energy there. I love that he has like already some dynamics in the way that he's moving. Like we'll have these really hard stops, right? And he almost has this recoil from it. Like I always call it like a bit of a hydraulic. I think that's just like my pantomime background coming in. But he doesn't have as many like hard stops. He lets the energy still be in that move. There's more like impact to it than having this like really sharp stop to it. And then other times where he has these really fluid movements. And I love getting to see that like just in this just tiny like 20-second clip where like parts of it he's just standing there, right? And you already get to see so much of that, and then we got this huge burst of emotion or motion. See that little like activation on that? And it's very slow. Gets all the way to the floor too in that. And then super fluid getting up. See the way that he adds like a bounce to it? Okay, the fact that he like added that bounce to it, he did so much movement fully from standing all the way down to the floor. Like he was laying on his side on the ground. And then he just casually walks through that formation to sing his part. That's crazy. Like to get that timing right, he's casual about it. Boy, do not smirk. The eye contact too, though. For the eye makeup. Whoa, the little, sorry, I know I'm interrupting, but the little, well, that's a pause. But the little, like, again, he has this bounce to his movements. There's always like a bit of recoil in the way that he does his movements. And I think that adds so much like impact to it. It adds more like energy behind it. It takes more energy, right? Because you're putting like more movement into it. But also like hard stops take a lot of energy too, because you have to like completely stop the movement. Whereas like having a little bit of impact, like residue to your movements is like a little bit less exhausting, and he just emphasizes it, which like is putting more energy into his performance and just like, makes those hits and stops feel more powerful. And I think that it's a great way of him like blending in with the rest of it, and then having these movement moments where he's slowing down, smoothing out those movements, even having him walk forward very like casually is such a contrast to him being at the back of that formation and having a ton of that like bounce to his movements. See, he's super smooth at that turn. Because he hits all that, those like drum fills. Ooh, good shoulder. Yeah, I remember his facial expressions during that part. Whoa, good like slide over. Some good silhouettes too. Whoa, okay. Good silhouettes from him too at certain parts. Facial expressions are great. I love that he looks like he's having a lot of fun. Like, again, some of the demon line coming through of him having almost this, like, slightly crazed glint in his eyes. Not as much as, like, Seonghwa, but Seonghwa was like, why not go 1000%? Like, why not just be completely possessed for the entirety of this performance, but still has that feeling to it. And I think that it's in great contrast to, again, some of those like slower movements and having some of those like silhouettes, more precise movements that come in like the second part of that chorus. Had some other thoughts too, like some good isolations with the shoulder movement. I had more thoughts on it. There was too much. He hits like every beat, which I think is also great with that like bounce, that recoil he has. Yeah, catch your breath a little bit. See, he hits like all of those beats. I know it's part of the choreo, but ooh, I love that part is like a little bit grungier of just letting him like loosely go with that movement to go along with the music and Miggy's rap part. But he hits every single of the little like instrumentation bits. And I think that is so cool. Like, again, parts of it are like part of the just choreography, the musicality of like little things that he just hits on that are just him like adding into the movement. I'm like trying to pay attention a little bit to the people around him to just in comparison, are everyone hitting those specific parts or is he like emphasizing them? And they're like little things, the instrumentation that he's specifically hitting. And I think that that's so interesting. Obviously, I can't hear the instrumentation amazing because of the live setting, but ooh, good kick up. Ooh. Boy. Facial expressions. I love you have that kick out and then really close to the body movements, right? So like big wide movements with that like kick and everything, like leading with the knee. And then we have this really closed in like stance afterwards. Love the contrast. Right? Wide stance, and then he closes up. See, he hit. Okay, did we all hit that little beat on the heel? Yeah, like a little bit, but he like really hits that little like beat on his heel. Vocal. Yeah, I'd have to fix my mic too if I was moving like that. Ooh, I love the way that he puts so much energy into being part of the overall performance. And I feel like that's why you get some of those exaggerated movements from him, because he's filling in kind of the environment of this song, right? Like all of the dancing that's happening is creating that environment around whoever's singing. And he really throws himself into it, blend in to all of the things that are happening with the choreography. And then when he's the focal point, he tends to close up a bit, right? Like he tends to dial it in because part of that is probably just like hitting live vocals, right? And he sounds great, but also it's a great contrast. And also it's a contrast to everyone else in the background doing stuff, right? While there's other choreo things happening, having him be this focal point of doing less is drawing our eye to him. Love it. Really great way of just like using the dynamics of energy and like how he's blending, but also sticking out, right? Being able to shift between those two things. A little like head detail there, like he just does like slight head movement to the music, right? There's so much happening around him that he needs to slow down. Whoa. I don't know why we're getting aggressive. And then just a smile before we get into them. I love how he looks like he's having so much fun during this. Ooh, great way of like leading with the head again. Look at his cute little smile. But great, like he has all these little like head details too that I think are just like so good. Like they are a great way of again contrasting certain movements, of having like more rigid movements at certain points and then having these more fluid things. That's just part of the choreography. But I love that he gets like these little head things, right? The head movements loosen up when he has those more fluid movements because it makes more sense again against those more rigid ones where how he's placing his head is a little bit more sporadic. Dang, he does a lot of like level changes too. He has a lot more floor work. Way to blend in while you're moving into your position too. Dang, that hurt. Oh, look, that makes my legs tired just looking at it. But again, like a ton of level shifts, like sliding on the ground, kneeling on the ground, laying on the ground, and then having these huge movements where he has like more like full arm extensions, kickouts and stuff like that, like taking up a lot of space, especially when he's in the back of formations, having like really wide movements so that he fills in the back of that formation. Great performer. And he looks like he's having so much fun at like certain points. And I love that. I love seeing people who just look like they're having fun. Yeah, see, like that, there's like squats happening in the middle of this choreo. I'd be like, nah. Well, yeah, this is not your fan cam. Fixing that mic a lot. Boy, okay, first off, I find it interesting that he's like facing down, right? We get some moments from Uyang where he's like looking at the camera, right? And San's like, nah, like I'm gonna keep my energy because he's at the back of the formation and he's about to move to center. So I like that we're reserving some of that personality or some of that energy for when he's gonna be like at the front of the formation, front and center. We get a little bit of it here when it like widens out, right? He's got a bigger window, so he needs to be more expressive. Whoa. Boy. See, huge movement after that. Love the like frightening. See, he's more sporadic with the movements. Again, some of it's like when you have the more higher energy, obviously you're not going to be as precise in your movements, especially with something like a head detail, right? You're just going to go for the energy as opposed to like the precision. But I think it's really interesting how he seems very intentional about his head movements in those slower moments. He's placing his head at very specific like angles, and he's hitting certain musicality in the way that he has like slight shifts in the way that he's holding his like his head position. And then when we get these like huge bursts, he's just erratic with it, right? Like he's just like putting a ton of movement into it. It makes me very concerned about whether or not he is stretched properly for his performances. I'm sure he has, because he's a performer, but I feel like I'm gonna get whiplash just watching him perform this. Really fast footwork too. Mike's gonna be holding on for dear life. Whoa, boy. First off, that head part anyway, just the turning of the head, but then like he dropped. That concerns me. I could do stage falls, but still. I love that frightening when he slows down. Because he like spins on it too. So he's facing away from the audience. Whoa. What a performance. I knew it was gonna be just because San, but crazy. I love getting to see some of the nuances because I haven't been able so far to zero in on him. It's one of my favorite things about doing these fan cams is just like getting to see the different textures or like personalities and the way that they perform things, because there's so much personality in that, right? Like you can see some like background in terms of training of what kinds of styles of dance that they were doing, but also just like seeing how he embodies a performance just from the physicality side. I feel like there's so many things in that where I'm just like, I need to watch more of him because I'm like, I love the way that he manages energy, and I love the way that he has like certain precision to some of his movements. It makes me want to check out something that is maybe like a bit more of a slower dance or like a slower performance, just because he has like a very interesting precision to certain parts when it slows down. And I want to know how much of that translates to like a full performance that is a little bit more of a slow down physicality. What a performance. I mean, I knew that going into this. Like San, from the stuff that I've seen of him performing, both from like guide and then just going through like music video stuff, he's a great performer. He has one of my favorite voices too. Not as much in like this because there's like a certain like energy to this song, right? Whereas I feel like some of the other songs you can get like some gorgeous vocals from him. But I love getting to see some of the character of who he is, like a dancer and a performer. And yes, obviously there's like facial expressions and there's like a bunch of charisma that goes into it, but I always find myself drawn to some of the like nuances of like, how does he dance and how does that contrast with some of the other people? Like I feel like checking it, like Yeosang was like the last fan cam that I did from this group. He has such a, obviously it was a different song, but he has such a like controlled and contained energy to him. Some points in this were like, I did get distracted. Okay. There's a little bit more of that kind of like energy or more sporadic feeling coming just because that's like the performance. But I think it's so interesting to see how San fluctuates in that energy, right? He has moments of slowing down, being very precise and controlled in the way that he's moving, and then having these like very like erratic movements. And it's just like he's choosing energy over precision. And I think that's so interesting because I think a lot of performers are like on one side of the scale or the other. They're either like very precise in their movements or they're okay with being a bit grungy with it for the sake of like style and energy that they're bringing. And I think it's very interesting to see within just this performance where you could definitely get away with just leaning into that kind of grungier style of dancing because it's such high energy, because there is so much character in the way that they're performing, right? Like the persona of this song is so strong that I think you could get away with just being a little bit less intentional about some of your movements. And I love getting to see some moments where he's very precise in the way that he's doing things. And there's certain little like musical things that he was just putting more emphasis in. And it makes me wish that I had a little bit of a better audio of the actual production while seeing him dance to see some of those things, because there's little points where I'm like, oh, he's picking out this specific part of the instrumentation. And it's fascinating to me. It makes me want to watch more stuff from him. But I loved it. I think he's such a good performer. And he's so good at, again, filling in kind of the environment of a formation and having the right energy and like shapes for the background of like other people at the focal point, and then being able to draw in that energy when he needs to be the center point of that formation. Great performance from him, and I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to me next time I post an ATEEZ reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.